Hey, good Sunday morning, everybody. Yeah, it's about 7:11, I think. Yeah, 7:11 on in this morning. It's here in the Northern California region, mostly Santa Clara and San Jose. It's WrestleMania Sunday, which I have ordered and will be watching. But with that said, you see the video down below, and it basically is exactly what it says it is. It says it is basically a Sonic topics video. Basically get some talk about some Sonic stuff. Basically sounds like a topics on my mind. These are Sonic topics on my mind, if you will. And I guess I want to talk. You guys, take this time to talk about them. And I want to start off by something that somebody over at DeviantArt at one of the Sonic groups there, one of the Sonic Archie groups there, a question they asked. Now, this is what's funny about this person is they asked the question. Well, what's funny about this person's not even really that active that much on the board, but they asked the question basically to anybody that's following the comic, whether it be members or non-members. They asked the question of whether or not the comic's quality has declined. And what that means is basically has the story arc, has the writing, has everything just gone downhill since the soft reboot and retcon back last year or 2 years ago. Well, mainly, I think, was it last year? Well, around the beginning of last year, the end of 2012 into last year, or 2013 into last year. A lot of people are asking that question, they want to know, basically, they want to know, basically, has the quality gone downhill since about late 2012 to currently? And honestly, when I look at how the retcon came to be, or the soft retcon reboot came to be, trying to think. I know it started, I believe, at 252. That's what it started. And it went from 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. So, seeing as though for me, I'm going to be hitting 200 issues as a subscriber soon, and this is going to be the 271st issue coming out at the beginning of the month, I look at, I look mainly at the I look at mainly the almost past, if you want to count 252, I believe, I look at the past almost 20 issues, 20 months, basically. Almost 2 years now. But if you want to look at it from an official standpoint, starting after Countdown to Chaos, and going from 257 to onward, I look at the past year and 2 months. That's how I look at it, the past year and 2 months. If you, like I say, if you want to count, basically Countdown to Chaos and even 252, which was part of it, almost 20 months, almost 2 years, if you will. I'll admit, sometimes the stories and the characters and how they react, how they interact and stuff. I admit that sometimes the stories are not in the eyes of some fans, are not the best that they could be. They're not the best that they used to be. But I look at it like this. It's basically, there are a few things that they're right about. One of them is, yeah, it's, you don't have as much to work with as you used to. I mean, you got very limited characters to work with, and you got to create new original characters to work into those stories, into those functions. And I think the reason it's so limited, maybe, and why the quality, maybe in the eyes of some, like this one person asking the question, if it went down or not. I think the quality, the reason there's limitations and the quality may, in the eyes of some, gone down, is because you don't have, like I said, you don't have many characters to work with anymore. You don't have, many choices to choose from. But, when one looks at what Ian, I think, tried to say one time about the reason for doing this, it's mostly to clean up the mess that the comic book was. A lot of people complained, oh, the comic book's too convoluted. It's too convoluted. It's too it's too confusing. It's not in continuity with itself. It's doing this, it's doing that. And, you might be right about that in a sense. You might be right. But the thing is, that's what Ian Flynn's goal was to clean up that mess and try to give us a straightforward continuity. Does anybody agree with that? No, they don't agree with it. But, if it's his own way of trying to clean things up and also try to keep the comic license alive, maybe in his eyes, for Archie Comics to continue using, then, he's got to do what he's got to do. Does it make the stories very limited? Does the quality go down a little bit? Like I said, it all depends on who reads it. I mean, yeah, there's not very many choices as far as characters go. There's not many choices as far as possibly what kind of stories you could tell. But the ultimate goal in the end, when one thinks about it, it's not just to tell great stories, but the comic book, and I do agree with this, as much as I hate to say it, is basically an advertising tool for the Sonic games. And it's to basically keep Sonic's name in the franchise relevant and keep it out there. You got him doing crossovers with Mario and Monster Rancher and stuff like that in some kind of shape, form, or capacity. You have Sega now focusing mostly on this kind of gaming platform, although sending out word that the console games are still going to be existable. The thing is, you're going to always have, you're always going to have this kind of stuff. You're always going to, the thing is, you're always going to have some kind of way of Sonic still being out there, and the comic and its spin-offs are some of the main ways of doing it. And like I've mentioned before in a previous video, if Ian Flynn's goal is to try to do this, to keep the license, for Archie, without Sega being on the back that much, then so be it. Ian's not going to come out and say, this is why he's doing it. He's not going to come out and admit admit those kind of things, because if he comes out and says, "Oh, well, this is why we did it," and blah 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 blah, he feels fans might get on him about it. Maybe he feels fans are going to be like, well, that's stupid. Why would you do this? Just because they said something, or just because you're afraid they might do this? I'm just saying. You take a look at Lost Hedgehog Tales. Ian Flynn says it's coming, but when, right? And I did a video on this because some people were talking about it. And my personal opinion was, I think there's more to it than what he's letting on. I think there might be some legal situations going on that maybe, he's not divulging, he's not saying. So, that's just my opinion on it. That's just my opinion, but, he's not divulging, he's not saying. Maybe, maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe somebody in the higher echelons of Archie or Sega or somebody found out and they got on him about it. Maybe he's trying to work it out to where he's trying to say, well, look, this is not really this is a free work. This is not being associated with you. These are my plans. This is what I was going to do. Maybe there's something going on. He's just not letting you guys know. So, but getting back on this first topic, do do I think there is, but getting back on topic with this question, has the quality gone down? And again, it all depends on people's view. I think it's been all right. I mean, true, there's been a few hiccups here and there maybe, but I think it's been pretty all right. I mean, I think Ian Flynn said it best, that the new soft retconned and soft rebooted universe and timeline is still very young and kind of still in development. So you got to be patient with what you're going to get. Right now, the quality in story arcs and stories and writing and maybe character development may not be at that level that you want, but because this new timeline, this alternate timeline, is still fresh and it's still young, you got to give it time. You got to be patient with it. So, has the quality gone down? Maybe to those that are not patient enough to wait, maybe it has. But I think we just got to give it time, And like I said, and like I've said before, this comes from somebody that's had his issues with Ian before. And but that's just my opinion on it. The second topic I want to talk about is the possibility of the non-game characters getting super forms. And what I mean by that is when you take a look at the more recent issue, the final part to Spark of Life in Sonic Universe, we saw Nicole get a super form called Overclock Nicole. Now, a lot of people have, now there have been some fans that have backlashed on it because they feel it was a cop-out, a Deus Ex Machina to basically rush the story or finish it. And I don't think that's the case. I really don't. Neither does Mega Beatman, who did his review on it. I know people like MixFan8643 has had their opinions, feel as though it was rushed, it was stupid. And again, I think it's, people just got to give it a chance, and I'll talk about that probably stuff later on. But, but getting back to Nicole getting the super form in the final part of Spark of Life, whether you look at it as a cop-out or a Deus Ex Machina, Nicole getting the super form kind of, to me, indicates that this might be the first step that we're going to get with all the non-game characters, the Sat AM game characters, if you will, like Sally, Rotor, Bunny, and Antoine, and maybe even the game characters like Amy and possibly Big and Cream. To me, this is just an indication that they're going to get super forms down the line as well. Is Ian Flynn or Leo Baker going to come out and say that? No, they're not. But, here would be the question I would have. If you were not planning on giving the non-game characters super forms in the future, why would you give Nicole one? Doesn't make sense. So I definitely see the other non-game characters, like I say, Sally, Bunny, Rotor, and Antoine, along with possibly Amy and maybe Big and possibly even Cream, getting these super forms down the line as well. Because you're getting into a situation now with Worlds Collide. You're going in a direction, like I say, you're going in a direction with Worlds Collide, and who knows after that. That is, to me, the story arcs might require the characters going super. Again, that's just my opinion. But again, like I said, that's just my opinion on it. do I see it happening eventually? Do I see it happening very soon? I see it possibly the soonest I think we could see any other non-game character, Sadie M character, getting a super form will be after Worlds Collide. I mean, not Worlds Collide, but Worlds Unite. It's got Worlds Collide on my mind. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's the sequel. Worlds Unite's the sequel or something. But yeah, like I said, I see that possibility that after Worlds Unite, not Collide, but Worlds Unite, that I definitely see the non-game characters, the Sadie M characters, and maybe even Amy and Big and Cream, I see them starting to get the super forms after Worlds Unite. I think that the stakes are going to be raised higher after Worlds Unite, and that's when you're definitely going to see the characters getting the super forms. I really do. I don't know exactly what story Ian would have planned to do it. I don't know if it would be in the main comic that some of the Sadie M characters get a super form, or universe. I don't really know, but I do know that we're eventually going to see it happen, whether anybody will like it or not. Because like I said, why would you give Nicole a super form in Spark of Life if you're not planning on giving the other game characters a super, not game, but the other Sadie M characters, and possibly, like I said, Amy and Cream and Big, if you're not planning to give them super forms as well down the line? Because I look at it this way, you can get away with the non-game characters probably getting super forms, and maybe even Amy getting one, but you can't get away with just giving one non-game character like Nicole a super form and that's it. So I definitely see the possibility of that happening. And like I said, I see it possibly happening in story arcs and issues in both the main comic and universe right after Worlds Unite is all said and done. I definitely see that happening. Now, on to my last topic. I think I mentioned it. I briefly talked about how Mixed Fan 8643 was not a fan of the story arc of Spark of Life, and basically felt that it suckered him in, just like Panic Plunder, Pirate Panic Plunder did, or something like that, the Blaze story. And how the ending, like I said, was a Deus Ex Machina, just a cop-out to rush the story and finish it. Let me say something. Now, everybody has a right to their opinion. They really do. But I look at it like this. You could feel like something was a cop-out and everything, especially at the end. But I think what you got to look at is the interaction with the characters. Now, no doubt maybe Panic Plunder Panic or Panic Plunder Pirate Plunder Panic was probably not the best post-Collide, post-crossover story arc they could have done. I get that. And I understand that. I get that and understand that. But when you look at Spark of Life, there is more to it than just, focusing on the ending being a cop-out or anything. You got to look at the character development there. You got to look at the interaction between characters like Sally and Nicole and LED. You got to look at the positives. And I can understand, like I said, everybody has their opinion, their own taste to certain things. I can understand maybe Mixed Fan didn't feel as though this was the best story that they could have done. That, the potential was there, but it, just was thrown out the window. And again, that's understandable, but like I've been saying, and I'll say this again, you got to look beyond the negatives and look at the positives. And there were a lot of positives. And when you look at the positives, like the character interaction and stuff like that, you also got to look at the opportunities that it presents for future stories, for future returns.